All right, all right. Welcome, welcome. It is Thursday, the 17th of April, which means tax day has passed us. And looks like you and I, Jack, have made it unscathed, um, and richer for it, which very few people get to say these days. But welcome, welcome again. This is Liberty Aid Academy, live shows every Thursday night at 7 p.m. on the East Coast time zone. And so, welcome, welcome. Please like, share, and subscribe to the stream, and share it with everyone that you wish good fortune on. How about that one?
Yeah.
Um, how are
Beautiful.
you, John?
I'm good. Tim Judge in the house. Thanks for being here. Tim shows up every week. It helps us through this. Thank you, Tim.
My
Uh,
pleasure.
it's so you go your whole year, right? You do, I do. You don't think about the IRS like at all. You know what I mean? Like you just you don't ever think about them, and then you get to April, mid-April, it's like, oh my god,
Yeah,
they're still a thing. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like you're like, you like, you go through past trauma, or like you talk yourself through the date and all that stuff. And you're like, you remember a little bit, but it's been many years now. So you're like, okay, wow.
yeah.
But what a
Well,
change in life.
I'll tell you. My example is that well, I helped my kids fill out their taxes because they were lifeguards and they made a little bit of money, but then not enough to qualify for the IRS to keep it, so they get everything back. And
Right.
so I made sure they got it back. And my wife is a town employee, so she has no choice but to be signed up for that stuff. But she tried to add me to. She goes, "Are we filing together?" I said, "No." This is the second year. This is the first year she did. So I had the real estate business, and I did all the write-offs and mileage and all the expenses, and we had an accountant do all that stuff for us because that's how you run a business in the world. And um and so now I don't have to do that because everything comes in through the trust, and don't ask, don't tell, and that's the way it works. And so I said, no, you don't add me. You're filing by yourself. I don't have anything. And so she did it. She has a simple, W-2. So she filed her own taxes, and that was it. So we did get to fire the accountant, but she had to file to try and get some money back. But
Yeah.
the kids, we did file the kids, and they waited till the last minute. They're getting money back, and they still waited till the last minute. I'm like, guys, when you get this in January, you fill it out and get your money back. And I don't know why you
What?
check boxes where they take it from to begin
It's
with,
the
but
date. The date. Yeah.
yeah. So
It is
they
all.
they're strangely happy because they're getting a couple $100 back. But I'm like, that was yours. You didn't have to let them hold it all year long. And so it was a funny week here, but nonetheless, didn't affect me too much.
No, no, it's really great. Everyone out there, thanks for the support. If you could share the video with some other people and everything, it would really be helpful with us.
If you
Jason,
if you know anybody that paid taxes this week, share this with them.
I mean, Jay in the house. That's so good. All right, we got some regulars in here. You all, thanks for the support. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for commenting on the video. Thanks for you know what that symbol means. If you do, if you know, you know. There
Scott's
we
in the
go.
house too.
All
Hello,
right,
Scott.
that
So
should be
I don't know if you had any special announcements, anything coming up that we should know about before we
well.
jump right into the title.
Well, I don't want to get right into the title because tax thing. Everybody's still like, oh my god, you know what I mean? And there's so many people that went, you know what, 30-day extension, they'll do it. I don't even know, you know what I mean? They sent that in, like, oh,
Yep.
that's so some people, in fact, everyone, out there that doesn't have this trust, we can still help you. In other words, guess what's happening? It's April 17th. So a new tax, calendar year is happening. So the way to stop this march of madness is to get a trust so that you don't owe any taxes, right? Money goes in and out of the trust. That's it. You don't use your person anymore, and it solves the whole paying the IRS thing. So think about it like, yeah. Well, what if you owe somebody the past? A lot of people come to me. They're, oh, my person, my LLC, whatever. You know, I've heard millions before, literally, with court cases and all this other. You have no, all the people come on fire running to me, and it works every time.
Yeah.
But sorry, like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. Psh, everything should be okay. Because all you do, the trust is a separate entity, so it doesn't report, doesn't pay, so it's a final solution because your LLC, your person, whatever, it doesn't have any money, doesn't have any bank accounts, so it's not going to pay the IRS anything, even if it owes. All right, we got the heavy hitter up north, Canada in the house, Jamie.
Jason's asking who's in charge of the trust.
Well, I mean, who operates it on a day-to-day basis as a trustee? And that's you individually, whoever creates a trust. I teach you how to do it. We teach you how to do it at the school, give you the paperwork. You just fill in your name of the trust, which is going to be your first trust is first name, last name, trust. And then your address. Really, that's all you have to think through is your name and address. And then put it on there. There's literally, on your end, there's nothing else to do, really, think-wise. That's the only information. So,
And does it has to be a board? It can be.
it could be a board of one yourself. You see what I'm saying? So a trustee with a board just means, oh, there's a board, it's some, whatever term that could be more than one trustee, but you can do it with one trustee. You see, so yeah, you can have more than one trustee. Oh, hey, I got a wife. We want to be on the same trust. Oh, okay. Well, you all could do it this way. So you could have trustees, two trustees. I'm not on any trust. Tim's he's not on it. Your trust. You're not on it. You see, you create it yourself. It's your own trust. It's your own thing. And because you create it yourself, it's not created by someone with a license for the state, like the Secretary of State or the lawyer or CPA. Nothing. No one licensed at the state or no one working at the state. I mean, like a state, federal. No one's no one's involved. It's you and the paperwork. And so that's what it means when it's a private trust. It means you're not using a public agent to do it.
Right.
You're doing it privately, meeting yourself. That's all. That's all private trust means in relation to this. And so you start it yourself. You get outside their jurisdiction. You're up at the same level that you got. We trust, and you're running it as trustee. If you add another trustee, a board, if you want to call it that. There you go.
Right.
Good questions. Thank you for the questions. What?
That's actually Jason's mom. It looks like
Oh.
hijacked his accounts and is asking these questions.
Oh,
So,
nice.
welcome,
Okay.
welcome.
Jason's mom, way to go. Way to look over your son. Good for you. And he's like, no, mom, you're gonna do this. So no, it's fun once you like, hey, wait a minute, what? There's some secret keys laying around here that work on. We can use them too. I'm like, yeah, no, I made a copy of the key. Here you go. So yeah, no. Thanks for the questions. Anything else? We're gonna talk about. I just wanted to get into that at the beginning because of tax day. I'll get into business. How to use a business with a trust. It's really easy, but I just want to bring up the tax thing in case someone's still got issues out there. This solves them, stops them dead.
So mom's asking who sets the rules and regulations.
You mean for your trust? You do,
The trust.
but you don't really need any rules or regulations outside of the Declaration of Trust, and they can be oral, like your minutes. Or they can be thoughts. Or if you're a trustee, you're just thinking to yourself, "I'm going to do this." So yeah, the declaration is really the only necessary paperwork instrument, and then you get the EIN from the IRS, and we teach you how to do that right on the website. Hey, click this, click here, do this, everything. There's no, each screenshot, everything. There's no way to mess up any part of this ever. 100% of the people that do this are successful. So keep asking questions. Jason's mom, if that's who that is. And so
Yep.
keep it up. Show, until you have no more questions. I got a lot of people that do. Alan was he a great question asker. Now he's like, he has answers now. It's like, oh man, what an answer! what are you doing over there? So we have a lot of people like that now. Just not just a single element, but a whole lot of a cascade of awesome things are happening out there for many students, people that have been doing this a short time, people that have been doing it a medium time and a long time. So a lot of success out there. So anyway, if you got a tax issue, listen, you got to get this trust. What we got the solution. So, but let's segue here into business as trust, because everybody's doing something out there,
Yep.
to get by, whatever it is, and so any business you have in America or Canada, the only thing you're like, oh man, I gotta switch my business over to a trust. Yeah. No, you just switch the bank account, right? It's a totally nothing changes in your business in any way, shape, or form. You don't change. Oh, I gotta change the website. No, I gotta change the checkout thing. No, I gotta change this, that. No changes.
But
Just change the
if
bank.
I understand you're saying it that simply, but if someone has a S corp or an LLC or those things that were set up by their CPA, said go to this lawyer, or they set it up, or whatever, however it happened,
Yeah,
those entities that exist. So you're talking about Paulie's Pizzeria Incorporated, does a lot of cash business because they love cash. But they also, do ring up some charge cards and things like that. So they change their payment gateway for their charge cards. They
yep,
take their cash and they put it into their trust bank account.
that's it.
But Paulie's Pizzeria Incorporated still exists.
And it can exist because it's a piece of paper, but it's not going to have a bank account or anything else like that. Uh, you know, you can maybe consider using a hack. Like you'll learn this information from our courses. So I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying it's possible you could use a LLC that you have. Oh, I started this thing. What do I do with it? Yeah, you could dissolve it. You could just let the piece of paper sit on the shelf as you're not doing anything, or you could build credit for it and buy gold coins and mess up your LLC credit and your personal credit for 7 years until it gets wiped clean, and take a few $100,000 so legally, and then put it in the trust. And like our that's the methods that our current president has used to gather assets into a trust. He has a lot more assets like real estate and stuff. Has all I bankrupted another
Mhm.
business, and so that means I squeezed all the credit out of it I could, put the assets over there in my trust. Yes, you know what I mean.
Right.
Thanks. Uh, anyway, you can. I'm just saying that is a use for an LLC that you're no longer using anymore. And I'm not
Right.
recommending it. I'm just saying it's a possible thing to use an LLC for. But other than that, you don't need it. It's not going to need a bank account or nothing like that. And if there's a license for your business or something like that, you just put that in the person's name, whatever
Right.
it is. Oh, Polly's Pizzeria needed a license, a business license. Okay, so maybe you did because you're in this town and they say you need a license. So you just put in your personal name, right? Because
Right.
your person doesn't have a bank account, nothing. It doesn't have anything anymore. If you have a real estate license, put in your person's name. Have a contractor's license, put in your person's name. And that's why I recommend first and last name trust, right?
Mhm.
That's your first trust, because it matches your license. It matches all the licenses. I don't mean just driver's license. I mean it matches your license. You see what I'm saying? Whatever it may be, if you have any. And so the money goes into the trust, and the license over there in the person, which, you know, we used to be like, oh, I don't want to have any bad things happen to me. Well, okay, but people can have money in your bank accounts. A person can, an LLC can, a trust can.
Right.
Those are corporation types. So a corporation can have a bank account, not a human, not a human. So it was never us. It was this thing called a
Right.
person with your first and last name. So it's not you. It's not your credit. You're just the one running these businesses. I run a trust. Uh, I run a Persian, but I don't use it for bank accounts and stuff like that. It has good credit score until I'm going to mess it up on purpose, at some point, just because, like, that's just good business, to take the banker's money legally, take a couple hundred grand every once in a while. Wait, why not do that? That doesn't make sense to me. So, you learn these tools and tricks. The main thing you learn in the beginning when you start with a business as a trust, I have all these other hacks, is what I'm saying. Ways to make money, cut down on expenses, increase the revenue. You could choose to do what you want to do once you have this trust open. Because I could be, carefree with my person over here. I could be carefree with my LLC over here, because everything's in a trust. And so, none of them are you. And
Mhm.
so, if one has a problem, it has a problem. So, you don't give it any money, no bank account, no assets, no nothing. Like your person, like an LLC. You see, those things can have problems. They're created by the government. So, you don't give your trust problems.
Right.
uh, if you create a trust and you want to bankrupt it, bankrupt, not really. No, I'm just using that colloquially. But I mean, if you want to build this credit and take like, assets with that and not pay back because it's unsecured debt, uh, that makes sense. But an LLC is a fine thing to do that with because, it's already registered as Secretary of State. You can skip that step. You got to do with a trust. Anyways, it's very easy. I'm talking about all these technical aspects that you learn to use in business. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, uh, whatever business you have, you're working on some margin. You got to, put out advertising. You get expenses, right? People working with you, you're working with you, right? Uh, your website, insurance, whatever the expenses are, it's a long list. You have a profit and loss. I recommend doing one of those every month. So this is the money came in. Here's the revenue. Oh, okay. And here's the expenses. So this trust knocks out the IRS line, like, oh, no expense there in your business. Remove them as an expense. But that's not just in money because you don't report to them anymore. So no filling out paperwork. You don't need an accountant. You don't have these. What am I going to do? You don't have to waste your time or hire an accountant. None of that stuff.
Um, Scott's asking, isn't there an issue paying employees and withholding tax?
Yeah, but this trust doesn't report. That's what it has 501c3 status, non-reporting. So it's not going to have employees. Okay, it could pay
But,
anyone to do something, and
but
then
Paulie's Pizzeria, the the busboy and the waitress, that they're
here's your check. You want a direct deposit? Do you want to get paid in cash? Whatever.
right.
That's how you pay them money.
But you're
You
not
pay
doing
them.
any withholdings or anything else like
You
that.
don't
You
have to do.
just
This trust doesn't report. You see, it doesn't report to the IRS. Period.
what does that employee do then? They have to claim like a 1099, or do they open, I mean, you could say they open their own trust and then they become
They could do that, and then they wouldn't report or pay any taxes. Nothing would happen. They do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Nothing would happen. But yeah, that would be the ultimate easy, super easy
right.
solution. But it doesn't matter on your end. If you're running a business, so you have someone
Right.
working for it, and it's working for the trust, you pay them money, whomever it may be, and any tax consequences are on that. Because what? You don't know if they're operating a trust or if they're operating their person or an you don't know, or your side. You don't
Right.
know. You don't
Right.
know what they're doing. You can recommend to them if you feel like doing it, whatever. Send them to the school. Yeah, absolutely, great, great. But the tax liabilities are on them, whatever the situation is. Oh, no, it doesn't live this way. Yeah, well, no. Also, they pay the IRS income taxes. They file. They do all these other things because they're remember, this is a structural solution. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not like, oh, this event happened, so that means I have to do X, Y, and Z. You see what I'm saying?
So Scott's saying you agree to pay $20 an hour to an employee at the end of the week. Here's your pay.
Bingo.
So they work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, the rules of the IRS code, they're out there for everyone to follow. So here's your money. Okay, bye.
Right.
On your end, right? If you're the trust, if you're Polly's Pizzeria in a trust, you're like, oh, see you later. That is your expense, $20. That's your expense.
Right.
$20 of the profit and loss I paid to, whomever, and that was it. They worked an hour, $20. Here you go. Okay, and that would be that. And then on their side, you know, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
There's all these rules, right? Are you operating a person, LLC? What are you doing? Are you operating a person? Oh well, I don't know. What do you usually do with chips and stuff like that? What? Not much, right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
have figured. You know, so uh, you remember it's not like there's data. They're going to be like, oh, hey, well, we saw it over here, so that's them. No, you're going to pay the money. It's if you're in a trust running Polly's Pizzeria, you're not like hey IRS, this is who I paid. Da, 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 blah, 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 $20. Yep. You're not sending them any
Right.
paperwork to go check on that. Do you see what I'm saying? You're not required to do so. So there's no, oh, there's no connection that they can make or wonder about or see to or any of that stuff.
And Scott's saying, would you do the same thing if you ran a warehouse with 200 employees?
Why wouldn't you? Everyone's happier. Thanks for the money, boss.
Right.
Can we get some overtime without this federal, taking our money? What? How
Right.
did you do this? You're like, yeah. But see, employee, right, is an IRS tax term. You see the same
Hmm.
means you're working for a taxable entity. Follow these rules, say you're an employee. But see, they're not really an employee. It's just somebody you made you're the trustee of a trust. That's what you're operating. So
Hmm.
you interacted with somebody and say, hey, you want to do this for this amount of money or whatever? They agreed. You're trustee of a trust. You don't report it, that's it. You're running something out there financially. This is what you're running. So it's a structural change. Boom, here's your money. As long as money goes in and out of the trust, you don't report to the IRS. You don't fill out forms. It doesn't matter if certain actions are taken. And so if you're like, oh, but employees, yeah, but that would be you'd be tracking, filling out forms. You don't do that. You see what I'm saying? There's no of oh yeah, but you did that. No, there's no event that comes up. Employees or other rules for LLCs, purses, none of those things happen because it's a structural solution. Trust says whatever it is, right? And this is very clever. This is what the
Hmm.
wealthy lead to hide everything. You see what I'm saying? They operate trusts like this. It's like there's no paperwork for any of it. It's super clever, isn't it? Well, now you're smart too. Don't pay the IRS. You don't waste time with all that paperwork. Don't gotta hire an accountant for taxes. You track your money just for your management, run your business. Oh, hey, this is how much we spent on Google. You start watching over your money to
Right.
make money. Yay, not to pay the IRS.
Andy's asking, hi, Jack and Tim. I have a trust in the name of my Christian ministry, a DUNS number for it. I have an EIN in my name. Which one, which one should I register with the Secretary of State? I want to get SBA, EIDL when they issue it again.
Uh,
So he's got two, the first
yeah,
name, last name, and the Christian ministry. Which one gets registered with the state?
for me, I would think about it this way. Here are the factors that you're going to need to weigh. Okay, that Christian trust, really that's the most useful aspect of that one is if you need to put real estate into a trust and get real estate property tax exemption, right? Okay, so if you're not doing that, okay, so here's the caveat: if you're not doing that with that Christian ministry trust, then you might want to do it with that. You see what I'm saying? You might want to do that. uh you know, in case you might mess up your personal credit and your entity, your trust. Let's say, oh, I'm just going to screw up my credit. So no real estate, right? You're putting in a Christian trust, and you want to be like, oh, I might not pay you back, which is what we're talking about. Maybe you're not going to pay me back EIDL or whatever thing they're going to do next. Who knows? So that's why I maybe would use a Christian trust or an LLC, right? Because you're like, hey, I want to get the helicopter money. Or you could think of it like, I mean, nobody's paying that stuff back anyway. So you could do it in your first and last name trust. I mean, you could, but then what if you had that issue? You know what I'm saying? That's the one you
Mhm.
would never want to tarnish because you want to get a bank account easy, all the applications and stuff. So you wouldn't use that one to build credit that might not pay back on. You know what I'm saying? So this is a very specific ask about a specific type of credit. So I mean, I'm doing it as an example online using my first name, last name trust. So YouTube, the mentorship thing, you could I'm showing fill in every blank, everything. I'm doing everything over there. So anyone that wants that information in crazy detail, fill in the blank, everything, get a YouTube membership over there, or the mentorship. Um, and I use my first and last name trust because I'm not really planning to mess it up or whatever. I mean, if things go south, I'll mess up anything, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so what if it doesn't have great credit? You still open a bank account with first and last name trust, but they might want the money of it. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't pay it back, it's like, well, a bank accounts with that thing if it owes money. You see, so that you don't want to maybe mess up first and last name trust that way. You see, I hope that was a clear explanation.
Uh, Jason's mom is back, or Jason's back. Says mom has to go over it some more. She doesn't
Right.
understand it all. It's all Greek to her. So, but that's why we're all here to
Yeah,
learn.
every Thursday, no problem. But Jason's mom, come on, every Thursday until you get it. We're happy to help.
Life in a body. Greetings to all you legends with ears that can hear and eyes that can see. All
Mike,
right,
the house he's my Florida homie. Michael, all right, man. Thanks for the support.
Alex in the house. Kimberly's here. Kimberly Miller. Greetings.
Heavy
On
hitter,
well.
batter up, heavy hitter over there, hard worker, Kimberly. Nice to have you.
This is awesome. I'm helping just ask me this. It's helping just ask this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I want to go over that was
One
oh,
more. Andy's
oh nice.
continued. I'm not using it for real estate, but
Okay.
I have credit in the ministry trust, and it's not registered with the state. I have to start a new with my name trust and get a DUNS number, and I have opened a bank account with the name trust.
Okay, so could be either one. If you just got these two things in life as simple like that, I would use a Christian ministry one. That's what I would do, and this way your first and last name trust is not going to get messed up with this credit or nothing like that. That's always where you're going to keep money, and it can function as your operations account. So I would use your ministry trust in this case as a direct answer. Thank you for filling in those unknowns. And but I like to answer thoroughly so that people who are listening understand the principles so they can apply them to their own situation. Thank you for that, Andy. I like the picture, huh? That's good. Uh,
Bird on the fence there. Life in a body back. Thank you, John and Tim.
Thank
All
you.
right. Scott's back. As a real estate investor, would you put all houses in one trust or one house per trust?
I would do it with one trust, one Christian trust. So you're going to use a loophole. Uh, and so if you get approved in one location, right? They could take your approval and be like, look, this trust is good. See the
Mhm.
county of, the state of, the country of, da da da. You got paperwork. So
Yeah.
the next time you go and do it, going to be easier to apply for that real estate tax exemption. You see what I'm saying? As long as you get one in some jurisdiction, you can be working on all of them. You see, oh, one folded, boom, I'm sending this to the rest of them. You know, so. But of course, this doesn't really, if it's an investment, then you can't really do it because it's
Right.
only for a parsonage, you know. But if it was for different real estate that where you're using, a nester means, oh, you're using the nest yourself. So I read it that way.
Okay.
And so you see what I'm saying? So you have to understand the differentiation there. You have to be able to support your claim. You put in the application, be like, no, that's my address. That's I live part time here, part time there. Whatever. People are snowbirds in Florida. It's common here. So, so
So just
those
to
are the
clarify,
factors. Huh?
just to clarify that, then the if you're an investor, I mean the Christian Ministry Trust is for when you want to get the tax exemption status from the municipality and not pay the property taxes because it's a parsonage for
Right.
your personal residence.
Because this is a Christian loophole
Right.
and you're a Christian, so you apply the loophole to your residence.
Right.
That's for sure, what the law says everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm a church, JesusChristTrust.org, and the paperwork is stuff like that. So you
Right.
said, oh, your person is, oh, what church are you affiliated with? I have a church. And so you get all the documents as you send them in, and they're like, okay. So, but you can't see how that doesn't apply if it's
Right.
investment properties, it doesn't
So
apply.
so
So
now what he's asking then, if you're an investor
yeah,
and you're going to go buy, you know, somebody went belly up and there's 5 houses that were started and never finished, you would take those 5 houses and put them all into one trust. Now we're not talking about the write off of the property taxes. Now you're going to buy 5 houses for $200,000 each. You're going to take $100,000, finish them up, clean them up, and sell them. And you're going to sell them and make 100,000 on each one. So a normal investor would be like, okay, I spent X buying the property, then I put so much into it, and I'm going to write that off about, they get write-offs and all the stuff we were talking about, how you're in business. And then the profit is what most of the time they'd have to claim as on their taxes that they made money flipping the house. But if all this is done inside a trust, and one trust is what you were saying would put all 5 houses into one trust, then there's no questions, nothing done. You can just build credit for that, pay for the repairs, sell them off, the money comes into the trust, nobody ever asks or tells any other questions about anything.
I agree with your assessment there. It's a
Okay.
different situation that
Right.
you brought up. So in this situation, your assessment is correct. I will use one trust, right? Because we're talking
Got it.
about flipper. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying? There's no buy
Sure.
and hold, nothing like that. So this is like your operations account. That'd be
Right.
fine to use your first and last name trust. You know what I mean? And like you said, build credit. You know what I'm saying? Because eventually, oh, I'm an investor. You want to be able to show the documents of what happened. Oh, that trust brought that. This is what the financial outcome was. So you start to build that paperwork pile. So, I teach you how to build credit and so on. But eventually, if you want that kind of money, you're going to want to go to the bank or investor. There are many different places you can go. But if you have the proof of your past abilities, that's what investors want to get money, you see, and a credit profile. And, so using one operations account, one to do it all, creditors are like, oh, look, hey, many operations. That's great. Well, hey, we'll give you credit. You see what I'm saying? So for that, I agree 100% with your assessment. Yes.
Now Scott's asking if a renter gets mad and sues, and you have multiple properties in there or whatever inside the trust, what happens then?
Yeah, I mean, this is why I don't recommend people invest in real estate ever. Basically, ever. Maybe if they're living at one, but no, I never recommend it. The downside is too risky. For that, what can a trust really do to protect against that? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you could have individual trust, but see, this is a Christian loophole. So you have to be Christian. You know what I'm saying? So you have to, do the right thing.
Mhm.
So that means, oh, if you're renting a house, you have to keep it repaired, watch
Yeah.
over it, do all those things and to not have problems. And you say, okay, God, take care of the rest. You know what I'm saying? This seriously is a Christian loophole. So God is your insurance, really. So that's the way I would view it. But me, I wouldn't invest in real estate because time is short and you know what I'm saying? Problems are coming, so I'll be way more liquid because certain locations are going to have problems. Look at Florida, my
Mhm.
God. And who's next? They're the ones that make the problems. They're the ones that create the black swan events. I don't, you don't. So, you know, there can be situations where you could have real estate and so on that are individualized. I get that, and according to you and your lifestyle, I'm just saying. For me, I don't see many of them playing out as a good reason, right? Gold, U.S. minted gold, buffaloes. Go look at where gold is going. Whoop. You know what I mean? That's the only way it's going to go. They're going to make more dollars. Gold's going to be worth more. You go sell it that day.
Scott is one of our Canadian friends, and he says the U.S. is sue crazy.
I
So,
mean, you hear that, you know what I'm saying? But is it really, who's got the money for a lawyer? Somebody renting? Really? Think it through. I mean, honestly, I guess it's possible, but that's where you're like, hey, you're doing your due diligence, you're asking for stuff. And I don't. That's more of a fear concern. I mean,
mhm.
and plus, if you, that's another type of event, situation than the one Tim and I were just talking about. Having renters wasn't what we were just talking about. That's a totally different situation. So it's possible that could make sense to do that for sure. That's what the largest uh,
Well, I'll just
corporations
say
are
that
REITs. So I'm
yeah.
saying that's how they make their money. They rent their real estate. You know what I'm saying? They own it and they rent it. So the largest real estate asset owning uh, corporation types are trusts, and that's what they do. So, yeah, you can do it. I'm just trying to point out the risk as someone that some others don't look into. Why is Buffett going to cash? I know he knows, and I tell you why on insurance. You don't want to hear it. Yeah, you don't want to hear it. So. I'm trying to say don't be late to the game and hold out on the real estate like it's forever going to be good in all places. That's all I'm trying to point that out. But then as you're renting, I mean, you really do sign up with God. Yeah, you get out of taxes, but you also get out of death too. It has a spiritual side. God isn't limited to, oh, here's your tax thing, and that's all I do for you. Nope, it's just a tax thing. That's what the IRS grants after you sign up with God. Okay, but God grants the rest of it. You know what I mean? The IRS doesn't give you all the really good stuff. They just no taxes. Uh, so no, you really have to look at it that way, and risk is how you judge the situation. Could you use an individual trust for each property because of that reason? Yes, you can. It's just paperwork and an EIN, but they're going to pay you to that trust, and you need more bank accounts and stuff. If you want to do that, whatever, it's your time. Uh, but I was trying to tell you is if it's an investor that's going through properties or running through them, building credit and building a history and stuff, that could be excellent. Uh, yeah, Scott, I'm glad you brought up all these points. So now we got Tim here, Mr. Real
Yeah.
Estate Expert. So, you guys are like, yeah, but what about this? What about this? I
Well,
love it. I love it. You're like,
the
grill the accountant on the real estate.
well, what I'll say about lawyers is that they're bottom feeders, so they're also looking for big bank accounts and large, assets with money in it. So if you have leveraged that and borrowed money against the houses that you're fixing up, there's obviously not a lot of equity there. And if you've taken that equity out of the trust and moved it into other products, or you have an operating trust in your own name, then there's no money to go after there either. So if someone's sue crazy, you go take what? There's the trust has a $300,000 house on it with a $290,000 mortgage.
You go
There's nothing
file a
here to
quick
take.
claim. you file a quick claim tomorrow, and that trust that they sued or whatever, it doesn't own it
Right.
anymore. And then also, wait a second, is there a court of chancery in the U.S.? I read in the newspaper, the online now paper,
Yeah.
that Elon Musk went to a court of chancery. The only time I ever seen it, and it was in Delaware, and that's all they gave on it.
Hmm.
But a court of chancery is a type of court that accepts, legal actions for a trust. Can't go file something for a trust down at your courthouse and stuff. Yeah, nope. So it's not exactly an easy thing to do, you know. And then you can flip it into something else before the court date or whatever. You're like, what? We don't have anything over here. What are you talking about?
Right.
And then how are they going to get to bottom of into this trust and that trust? You can sell the place or whatever. They,
Right.
you use these creating entities situations to, remove risk too. You could do it, you know, after the risk, really. Like, how are they going to, claw back into different entities and find stuff? If you get a judgment some years later, what? And a renter's going to have, the funds to carry on through that. No, man, that's all. Renters don't. That's why they're written. Like what? I'm not waiting for lawyers. Just so like how. See, it's a fear that's not based in the reality of who has the money to push through and make it happen. Not a renter, basically. So unless you're renting out, like property down on Casey Key for me, that's like, oh, how much is that a month? Like 25 grand. It's like, oh, what? You know what I mean? Like, if you're talking about, whole different level of money where somebody might have the money to sue you, that if they're paying 25 grand a month, that kind of renter. But I don't think we're talking about that. You see.
Crypto Ken in the house says, "Hi, you guys. I'm going to open my trust bank accounts on Saturday," and he's
That's
very excited.
exciting. What? Come on. That's
I think
great.
I'm gonna have to get some sound effects and some confetti and stuff like that. So when people
Yes.
announce this, we're gonna celebrate.
We
Good
ha-
job.
or you have to learn how to do this or whatever you do on your phone, and then balloons go or some weird stuff. You're like, what did I just do? I don't even know what I did. When that happens, you're like, wait, what would I do?
Crypto Ken saying in Los Angeles, California, do you know the county assessor form to use? They're making it confusing. That's their job, is to make it confusing. BOE 267S religious exemption is only for 1 year. Yeah, they're all different, and they're all different for the reason of making it confusing, making you work for it. That's for sure.
That's the best thing to answer this for crypto Ken is to go to classroom. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
it look at like the real estate tax exemption, like in that section, post this, with a form and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Because I want to give you the best answer I can. This is a more detailed question and answer with a form involved. Post the form. That's where we have the forum and all that stuff. So I could work through it with you. That's you're a student in the school, great. You're doing something, got a question, post it in the classroom, you'll be working together at that point. And everyone else in there. I'm not in California. Other people have done many processes in California, giant state. A lot of people use trust out there. So, they can pipe in with their information too. So I'm not in California, so do that, please. You'll get more information that way from not just me, but from others. Okay.
And Life in the Body has it with the party hat and the little blower stream. So that's the party.
Mike,
That's the party
thanks
there.
for joining the party, sir.
Frank's in the house. Frank's upholstery shop says, "Can you explain the benefits of having a trust versus a will?"
Yeah, 100%. A will you should use for everything non-financial, basically. Non-financial things that you want to have happen. That's what a will is for. Okay. Uh, you know, uh, I want my wedding ring to go to, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, uh, a will is like things you're telling to people, uh, and what you have an interest in them doing after you're done. I don't know. Tell them why you're alive is my what I would do. What. But if anyone wants a will, that's mainly what that's for, because a trust can do all the financial things. You know what I'm saying? A
Mhm.
trust can do that. And so a trust, now what we're talking about is like, hey, I don't want to have to owe taxes or whatever, fees, money, stuff like that. That's what we're talking about. You're trying to get assets from one generation to the next without the IRS or anyone else getting involved, taking money. Oh, we had to sell the place because we had to pay this, that, and blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? You're trying not to have that happen as a way. Uh, you know, I'm thinking about your question. So if there's something of value, like, real estate, a trust knows, okay. Let's say that you're like, oh, okay, well, what this should go to the next generation. So, the older generation, say there's one left, say your father's here and you're here, you would both be on the trust. But let's say the older generation, just to use a basic example, they die. Okay, the trust still owes that real estate, and they're one less trustee, but you're a trustee. So they die, but nothing happened. You see, the trust still owes it, your trustee, do whatever. Uh, and same thing, same for any example, like a bank account. Okay.
Mhm.
If you're both trustees on it, well, now there aren't two trustees, there's one trustee. You see what I'm saying? So there's no getting involved with a lawyer or probate or any, because a will is just like, please do this with this. Well, then you got to go do it and get a lawyer to do it and stuff and get the paperwork. What?
Right.
And everybody wants a cut of everything everywhere you go as you do that. Oh, taxes here, that's a fee, gotta pay the paperwork, gotta pay the lawyer. You're like, wait a second, I'm not gonna get anything out of this. So we'll just, they're gonna rip you to shreds and send it through the court system and all that stuff. Whereas with a trust, nothing happens if you don't want it to. So this is why it's really important. What I say is, the people are like, oh, what should I do with my children in a trust? Should they be on a trust or be beneficiary? I'm like, well, yeah, there's spiritual benefits, they could do that, but the financial benefits, I say you're not going to die because you signed this eternal life. But you be careful. You know what I'm saying? Put them on there as beneficiary. Still, that would have to go through some probate or situation like that. But see, main thing is education on trust. So when it's
Wouldn't
when
you
a
wanna make
child
them a
when
successor trustee?
well, what I'm saying is, when a child reaches 18, you
Yeah.
want them to have their own trust, first and
Right.
last name trust. So
Right.
as soon as they get 18, they're educated. Oh, I know what a trust is. That's what I use. Da, da, da. And
Right.
so then, you've trained them. They understand. They learn. So then you're like, okay, you got it together. Where you could put them on a bank, you can put them on a piece of real estate, and have that situation happen because they're trustworthy. They know how to use a trust. So you taught them how they use a trust, first and last name trust. So now you just add them to the other trust, get them a debit card down in the bank, put them on a real estate, that kind of thing. You see,
Mhm.
That's the way a trust can get out of that whole inheritance issue, taxes and stuff like that. And
Right.
it's really done properly with education and experience. Start your trust at 18. I'm going to the bank with you. Here's the paperwork. Okay, let's do it. You're like, what? It's just a debit card. Yeah, but now the IRS is out of your life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
They learn that and they get the financial benefits of that, and then the education and knowledge. So you're like, okay, hey, you did great. You're 21. I'll put you on the house, the real estate, so the government can't get anything. It's like, true intergenerational control of real estate. Turn it into a parsonage, get rid of the real estate taxes, and the tax man is out of your life forever. Your real
Right.
estate forever, for every generation, forever. You see what I'm saying? So that's the difference between a trust and a will. Vast difference. A will is, so then you wouldn't want a will, because a will would, send it through parent, probate, taxman. Everybody's taking everything. So I wouldn't even use a will for anything financial or nothing like that. I would use it for relationship type stuff, or, intimate collectibles, things that have meaning, or spiritual things like my favorite book, or things like that.
Mhm.
So I hope that explains it.
Um, the other thing that I wanted to touch on with that point is that if you're the parents in that situation, and somebody has to go into assisted living or has medical issues, sometimes they claw back. Oh, 4 years ago you had a $500,000 house, or whatever, or if you have it now and it's not in a trust, they go, oh, you have a house and you did a great job paying it off. Now we're going to take the house so that we can, take care of you in an assisted living facility for
Yeah.
the rest of your
That's a good
days.
point, Tim. I've helped people with that too, and again, this is how that works.
Yeah.
It's because that's another situation, but it's kind of a common one. And so what happens is, you actually put it in a trust. So we're talking about real estate. So we'll put it in a Christian name trust. Okay, that way they're more likely to approve the tax exemption. But I would put it in that, and I wouldn't even have them as trustee. I would just put it into the next generation. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And whoever many there are, they're on the trust, and the trust owns it. And it's kind of like you said, if you want to go to assisted living, you own anything, then they want it. But if you don't own anything there, there's no
Right.
clawing back. It's like, well, I gave $1 million to PBS. I love their, masterpiece theater. It's like, that
Right.
medical whatever, they can't go claw back to PBS and get $1 million or whatever.
Right.
Can't do that. So, but the same is true as if there was a home, you can't get it if you put it into another trust, put other trustees on it, and it's out of the next generation. What? Done. Yeah, there's nothing to get. Same with the bank account and so on. So
Yeah.
that's a way, different operation. But yeah, these things, that's what I say. You open up your trust, and you learn how to use it. It's actually pretty simple once you know the principles of it. Great questions by everyone, especially that was good
Yeah.
too, Tim. I forgot about that one. Thank you.
Frank says assisted living takes it all.
Yeah,
And then
they would put zero.
unless it's in a trust. Yeah, there
Yeah,
it is.
that's
And
exactly.
Crypto Ken says, I really appreciate both of you for what you're doing. I wouldn't be on the edge of a real financial freedom without both of you. Thank you, and welcome, welcome. I took a break and listened to some of Joe Cocker. Um, good to know. The okay,
That's
there was one more question about the business, and now I don't think it applies to the pizzeria, but if a trust takes a donation and do now we have a 501 status and we're a 508 with 501 status, do you give a receipt to these people that are still living in the tax world that they can use as a write-off?
You can do
Yeah.
that, absolutely. And the way I recommend that is just go to like Google, like you
Yeah.
know, what I don't know the exact words, but you want to give a chit to someone for 501c3 donation,
Right.
501c3 donation letter or whatever. You know what I mean? It's gonna just copy and paste what they have, basically, like put your organization name in it and the amount of money that
Right.
they donate, if it's useful to them. You wouldn't do that for everyone, but it's like you would, you can, you could do that.
Yeah.
uh, so you can give them something like that. It is possible to do that. Yes, 100%. Most churches, uh, you know, have this same 501c3 exemption, and
Right.
so you know that's who's giving out them pieces of paper. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So they're under the same 508c1a, the exact same, you know, exception that allows for the exemption. So they're giving out the piece of paper, you see, so you can too. Uh, so yeah, no problem. You can. It's never come up for me to have to do that, but yeah, churches, yeah, they do it every year. They have a way they do it. Yeah, so they can definitely do that, and or they can do it when somebody gives. So here's your letter. Thank you.
Right. Excellent. Well, we finally got through all the questions that people were asking me this week. It was a good show. 55 minutes went by like a heartbeat.
Fantastic. I'm gonna go good, and we're gonna jump out of here on time because Tim's got another show.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go over a couple little bullet points here, because these questions that I'm gonna rattle off here, people have asked before. So I'm just like, let me just throw out some
Yeah.
basics because people might be thinking this because I've been asked this a lot. So, and we were kind of asked this. You don't use an LLC anymore. You just use a trust. It's like, oh, but I tie the LLC to the trust. It's like, no. Just the trust. You don't use the LLC anymore. You just don't use it. You see, a lot of people get confused on that. I don't know why, but it's very simple. Just trust, bank account. That's it for business. Very, very simple. Let's see. Oh man, we have like covered all this stuff. This is great. Uh, so 50 years of proof. This school, Liberty and Academy, uses these methods. You see what I'm saying? Like, eh, have you seen there's a school with having trouble, Harvard. You know what I mean? Like with they're messing up some federal funds. If this school, online school, right, was messing up like the tax, whatever, because I'm giving out the tax information. What did they shut me down? They're doing it at Harvard, for crying out loud. You see what I'm saying? They would have, run the schools out. I know we're fine here. I'm following the law. There's no problem. 50 years of following the law. So y'all still freaking out there. It's like, quit paying the IRS. The wealthy people did it decades ago. You need to start, or else they're going to take everything. Come on. You really need this information, or they're just going to liquidate the whole thing in their favor. You see what I'm saying? You got to scratch out your little place and be like, that's my bank account. Great. Thank you, God. It's your bank account. They can't steal it. Yay.
So this is Jay saying, so you just have a business name and the trust for the payment gateway.
You just have your first and last name trust.
Right.
And you just have a payment gateway in your first and last name trust name. That's what you have. And then you connect that to any business operations of any kind, large or small. Gigantic operations like Roxy, right? Now, with all this heavy equipment, doing land reclamation for the federal government under a federal government license, reclaiming landfills for the federal government across the USA. You could do it on that scale, yes. Or you could, hey, I run my eBay store like this. Everything in between and bigger. So, yes.
There we go.
Let's say everyone's like, hey, is this legal? What? Every bank sends it to their legal team to be like, oh, we have to send it to the lawyers. It's like, oh, okay. And then like, okay, here's your bank account. It's like, okay, here's your debit card. You're like, okay, see you later. Bye. Yeah, that's everyone in every state, all the lawyers in the entire United States probably have all looked at one of these trusts by now. Okay, and still nobody's knocking on the door. I'm here every Thursday. Here every Thursday. Hi, it's still another year, another decade. No more problems. Never a problem. Never for anyone. So please, do this and we can help you. You see what I'm saying? If you sign up, if you get the trust, IRS is out of your life, the government's out of your life, use all the financial hacks, your expenses go way down, your revenue goes way up, then I can help you individually in the classroom, private forum, and all your other homies in there who are properly getting out of paying the government as much as possible and getting the government to pay them. Learn all the hacks, start as a student and come over to the good side of like the financial life, like the wealthy elite, like our illustrious trumpet,
Yep.
So anyway, thanks for the support, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Tim Judge. He's on to the next show. Good show. What a great
show.
Yeah, a lot of good questions, a lot of good business questions, a lot of good real estate stuff. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you next week. So will Tim. Thursday at 7. All right,
That's
Easter.
Right. See you then, everybody. Have a good one. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.